And welcome back to a special edition of Picks on Politics, everybody. I want to bring in our go-to guy for all things New Jersey, political professor over at Fairleigh Dickinson University, Dan Cassino, as we get these numbers in real time. Dan, so you just saw those numbers. I don't know if we could throw them back up on the screen, everybody, so everybody at home can take a look at where things stand. We have 64% for Mikey Sherrill to Jack Ciattarelli's 36%. Mikey Sherrill with a big lead right now of 174,000 votes, and that is with 19% of the precincts in. Now, the polling going into this race, Dan, had it razor thin 1%. Right now, I'm sure the Jack Ciattarelli campaign not liking these numbers.
Well, these numbers we're seeing now are almost all the early voting numbers. And we know that Sherrill was up dramatically in the early voting numbers. The expected margin, we know about 300,000 more Democrats than Republicans voted in early voting and vote by mail. And that's a pretty substantial margin for the Democrats going into Election Day. There's always expected that Election Day votes were going to be right on the border, perhaps even with Jack Ciattarelli winning on Election Day. The question is that 300,000 vote margin in early voting enough? And with these early votes we're seeing, it looks like the margin is big enough. This is what Democrats were hoping for. Of course, when the Election Day votes come in, anything can still happen.
Yeah, and of course, everybody is looking at what's happening in Virginia at the same time and whether or not that is an indicator of what may play out in New Jersey. So I just want to throw up the numbers. I know it's a race that's not local, but we are paying a close attention to what's happening in Virginia right now because there are only two governor races happening at the same time, right? So here we go. And she was declared the winner, Abigail Spanberger, with 54.7% of the votes to Winsome Earl Sears, 44.5%. Now, this was not a huge surprise that she pulled this off here, but is that an indicator of what we may see play out in New Jersey?
I don't think it is. And the big reason is that that election was very much about affordability, like the New Jersey election. But in that case, the Democrats were the out party, and they were blaming the Republicans who had been the governor for the higher electricity prices. And we're having the exact opposite thing play out in New Jersey, where even though Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill actually were very close in Congress, elected at the same time, both the national security credentials, Spanberger was running against a Republican, and Mikey Sherrill is running for a Republican. So to some, Mikey Sherrill is running with the incumbent. And so the dynamics are relatively different. It's always been expected that the New Jersey race is going to be much, much closer than that Virginia race is.
Yeah, and to your point about who votes early versus who votes on Election Day, it's notorious that Republicans like to vote on Election Day versus early or mail-in voting, right? But also in the final days of the campaign, we saw that Mikey Sherrill brought some big names. She brought out Pete Buttigieg. She brought out former President Barack Obama. Missing from the Jack Ciattarelli side was President Trump, who numerous times said go out and vote for Jack Ciattarelli on his platforms of X and Truth Social, but didn't actually come to the state.
No, he did a town hall, like a over an online thing for Ciattarelli, but we didn't see anything in person. And I think that was probably wise on the part of the Ciattarelli campaign, given that Mikey Sherrill is constantly trying to link him to Donald Trump. He doesn't want pictures of him standing next to Donald Trump.
We're getting some early exit poll information at the same time, right? So our friends over at Emerson College, they're the ones who we did the poll with in the final days of this, which had it at 1%. Right now, as people are leaving the polls, 43% voted on the economy. No surprise there, right? It goes into affordability as well. Threats to democracy was in second place, Dan, at 16%. Housing affordability at 15%. Now, I also found very interesting was when people were asked what would they vote on as more important, 59% said lowering health care, over 41% who said reforming state government. So what does that tell you about how people may have voted?
Well, so we talk about reforming state government. This has been basically what the Republican Party has been about in New Jersey, saying that the state government is bloated, it's corrupt, it's been run by Democrats for 20 years, ignoring Chris Christie, and as a result, we need to bring in fresh blood. So the fact that voters are more focused on cutting costs than trying to reform government probably bodes well for Mikey Sherrill.
So for somebody like Jack Ciattarelli right now, when you're looking at these numbers as they're coming in real time, by the way, just letting people in, just the overall feel of the room felt much different than Mikey Sherrill's, who allowed the crowd in earlier. They seemed excited at the numbers that were coming in. Jack Ciattarelli waited to allow folks into. It's a much quieter room. You know, what is he looking at in terms of making up some of the lost ground already?
So it is all about Election Day voting in Ocean County and throughout South Jersey.
And just take a look at the lead right now, okay? 64% to 35%, and that lead that Mikey Sherrill has is over 200,000 votes. This is with 22% in.
Yeah, but again, this is still almost. We're not going to.
You got to look at the 300,000 Democrats who voted.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So we're not going to be seeing Election Day votes probably until at least 8:35, 8:40 is where you're going to see Election Day votes come in. And if you are Jack Ciattarelli, you are waiting for those big counties in South Jersey to start turning those Election Day votes, and you hope you've won that by enough. Based on the turnout, basically Ciattarelli has to win this on Election Day about 57-43 in order to overcome that 300,000 vote margin, and that's going to be really tough for him to do.
I just want to end on this, because this got very personal for both of them, going after her time in college, she went after him for the jobs that he's held, accusing him of murdering people when it came to drug usage, right? It got very personal. Did that muddy the waters in terms of people hearing the issues?
I don't think voters know very much about the issues in this campaign. The ads went from straight bio ads, Mikey Sherrill's a helicopter pilot and a mom, Jack Turley's a Jersey guy, straight to he's a mass murderer, and
she's a cheater.
So this is all, the voters, this campaign failed as for democracy, small d democracy, and the voters still don't know what these candidates are going to do, except apparently Mikey Sherrill's going to freeze electricity bills, and Jack Turley promises we're going to be able to use plastic bags again.
Yeah, well.